I wanted to share a couple of science stories that I have been sitting on my desk here for a week, and I think are actually quite important. And there's more and more science that's being done right now on brain function and rest. Now, Arianna Huffington has a book out about sleep, and she's, promoting that, and she's even argued that Donald Trump is as flaky as he is because he claims to sleep 4 hours a night. I doubt his claim is true. I mean, typically people sleep between 6 and 8 hours a night, and we all have a slightly different amount of sleep that we need. But this goes way beyond sleep. And to silence, and to nature. The first one that I wanted to share with you is from the National Geographic magazine. And it's by Florence Williams, story by Florence Williams, photographed by Lucas Foglia, Foglia. And it's titled, "This is Your Brain on Nature." And what they point out is that being in nature allows the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center, to dial down and rest like an overused muscle. And, they get into theta waves and, midline frontal theta waves and all this kind of stuff. But, there's ways of measuring that. But the net is, well, here's some other examples. Cyrus the Great, who some 2,500 years ago built gardens for relaxation in the busy capital of Persia. Or in 1798, sitting on the banks of the River Wye, William Wordsworth marveled at how an eye made quiet by the power of harmony offered relief from the fever of the world. And back then, people thought silence and being in nature were like good and important things, but they didn't realize that there's actually measurable scientific changes that occur in our brains as a result of either not getting enough silence or not, or being continually stimulated. I guess it's the same thing. They found, just quoting from this article, there wasn't much hard evidence back then, but there is now, motivated by large-scale public health problems such as obesity, depression, and pervasive nearsightedness, all clearly associated with time spent indoors. The scientists are looking with renewed interest at how nature affects our brains and bodies. Everything from the stress hormones to heart rate to brain waves to protein markers indicate that when we spend time in green space, there is something profound going on. In England, researchers from the University of Exeter Medical School recently analyzed mental health data from 10,000 city dwellers and using high-resolution maps to track where the subjects had lived over the last 18 years. They found that people living near more green space reported less mental distress, even after adjusting for income, education, and employment, all of which correlate with health. Dutch researchers found a lower incidence of 15 different diseases, including depression, anxiety, heart disease, diabetes, asthma, and migraines in people who lived within a half mile of green space. And in 2015, an international team overlaid health questionnaire responses from more than 31,000 Toronto residents onto a map of the city, block by block. And those living on blocks with more trees showed a boost in heart and metabolic health equivalent to one would experience from a $20,000 gain in income. Lower mortality, fewer stress hormones circulating in the blood have been connected with people living in or near green spaces or who regularly visit green spaces. How does it work? Well, what they're suggesting is that nature works primarily by lowering stress. Those who can see trees and green grass have been shown to recover faster in hospitals. You want to recover faster in a hospital? Get a room with a window that overlooks some trees. Such results jibe with experimental studies of the central nervous system. Measurements of stress hormones, respiration, heart rate, and sweating suggest that short doses of nature or even pictures of the natural world can calm people down and sharpen their performance. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, that's some pretty amazing stuff. Along those same lines, Carolyn Gregoire, however she says, Gregoire, senior writer with the Huffington Post, wrote a piece back on March 5th titled "Why Silence is Good for Your Brain." And actually goes through some of this really good recent science. Number one, silence relieves stress and tension. And she talks about how Florence Nightingale said unnecessary noise is the most cruel absence of care that can be inflicted on sick or well. And it turns out noise pollution has been found to lead to higher blood pressure and heart attacks, as well as impairing hearing and overall health. Silence has the opposite effect, releasing tension in both the body and the brain. A 2006 study published in the journal Heart found 2 minutes of silence to be more relaxing than listening to relaxing music based on changes in blood pressure and blood circulation in the brain. So number one, it relieves stress and tension. Number two, it replenishes our mental resources. There's this whole new body of medicine called attention restoration therapy. And according to attention restoration therapy, the brain can restore its finite cognitive resources when we're in environments with lower levels of sensory input than usual. In silence, for example, the quiet stillness you find when walking alone in nature, the brain can let down its sensory guards, so to speak. So thus, in silence, we can tap into the brain's default mode network. It's called self-generated cognition, meditation, dreaming, fantasizing about the future, letting your minds wander. And when this happens, as Herman Melville once wrote, all profound things and emotions of things are preceded and attended by silence. And finally, and this is mind-boggling, this is from the journal Brain Structure and Function, a 2013 study on mice. Silence, quiet, and we're talking 10 minutes of silence. Silence can actually, quite literally, grow your brain. This is what they did. They involved comparing the effects of ambient noise, white noise, pup calls, and silence on the rodents' brains. And although the researchers intended to use silence as the control in the study, this was supposed to be the placebo, what they found was that 2 hours of silence daily led to the development of new cells in the hippocampus, a key brain region associated with learning, memory, and emotion. Basically, all of our sensory data goes first it goes through the hippocampus before it gets redistributed to the rest of our brain. And the hippocampus is our one-day scratch pad. It's our short-term memory, basically. And silence, adding to the number of cells in the hippocampus, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So how do we do this? Well, one simple way is to just turn everything off and sit quietly in a room and just notice your breathing. Notice what you're looking at. Notice what you see. Notice what you're hearing. Notice the sensations in your body and just be present with it. This is called mindfulness meditation, or it's a variation on mindfulness meditation, Vipassana. Just being there 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, a couple times a day at the most. Or at the least, I'd say. And you will notice deep and profound changes, not only in how well your brain works in general, but also how your body works. This helps heal the body as well as regenerate the brain. Just a few minutes of silence every day. You don't have to go take a fancy meditation course. You don't have to sign up for yoga instructors or any of that kind of... I mean, you could do those things if you want. But I'll give this to you for free. You can actually strengthen your brain by simply exposing yourself to a few minutes or an hour a day of just silence. And it can be walking in the woods, it can be walking around town, although sometimes towns are pretty loud, or it can be just sitting in your room. So, wanted to share that with you. I realize we've been talking about politics all day. Sometimes it's nice to take a break. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.